Taxpayers are being forced to pay $1 million per condo for homeless people. This all comes as the U.S. Supreme Court today takes up the question of whether California cities have the legal ability to remove homeless camps. All that and more coming up. I'm Carl DeMaio, chairman of Reform California, and there's no doubt about it. California faces an epic homeless crisis. We've got skyrocketing numbers of homeless in our state by design. California politicians have enacted bad policies that have fostered conditions whereby homelessness has gotten worse. And it all sets into motion a Supreme Court case that we're going to consider today that may actually give us a little bit of relief in the fight to clean up our streets. First, let me start out with this story from Fox News. And it's kind of surprising because we've covered stories like this before on this show. There's nothing new about this. It just happens to be making national news now. Headline: California City okays $1 million per unit homeless housing project after audit found the state wasted billions on crisis. This is about a project that the Santa Monica City Council just approved this past week. 122 units for homeless people, costing more than $123 million. That's $1 million per pop. And a second design concept that was rejected would have cost north of $200 million for 196 units. Mayor Phil Brock said, "I look forward to the next steps and ultimately seeing families move into these new homes and thrive. I look forward to spending $1 million per condo on homeless people." This is insanity, my friends. I've always said that we have more than enough money to solve homelessness in California. We spent $24 billion over the past 5 years, and we have nothing to show for it, mostly wasted on developers, rich developers, on scam projects like this one in Santa Monica. Look, I believe homeless people should be given a guarantee of a clean cot, a warm and safe place to stay at night. But we should not be giving them the keys to a condo. We should not be giving them a motel voucher to go hang out for $6,500 per month. That's what the motel vouchers are costing us per month. We should not be doing any of that. We should be giving shelter beds to homeless people. And we have more than enough money to provide shelter beds, but the liberals say, no, they shouldn't have to stay in a shelter. Okay, so now we're on the hook for a condo? What the hell? We need to get to the root cause of homelessness, which is mental health and substance abuse. Simply giving the keys to someone to a condo at $1 million per pop is not the solution to homelessness. You can easily get shelter beds for a fraction of the cost of $1 million condo. And I'm all for transitional housing. Transitional housing for people who are getting out of the shelter. They've got a job, but not enough money yet to get into private housing. Transitional housing units actually can be provided on a transitional basis if we stop giving keys permanently to homeless people. We should not have any permanent supportive housing for homeless people, period. End of story. Because we should not expect that taxpayers are on the hook permanently to provide housing for people. But the people on the left actually have a philosophical goal in providing these projects. They believe, on the left, that housing is a human right, that housing should actually be one of the portfolio programs that government offers every taxpayer. Every resident should be given a guaranteed of government subsidized housing. That's what the socialists believe. That's what the left believes. And you're seeing it on display here in California. And that is why you have so many of these boondoggles. That's why you have $24 billion wasted and the homelessness keeps getting worse and worse. Other states require that homeless people actually go through programs and be held accountable for clean, sane, and sober living. No freebies, no free keys, no motel rooms. You get a shelter bed, you get treatment programs, and then you got to get past the whatever problem has led to your dependency and get yourself back on your feet. And don't tell me about, oh, well, it's a hard job market. We have 3% unemployment, 4% in some cities. There are jobs out there. for people willing to take the jobs. So the $1 million per unit homeless housing boondoggles will continue until we get to the root cause. And the root cause is enforcement. California is the only state that doesn't enforce clean, sane, and sober rules and enforce the removal of the homeless camps from our sidewalks. We're the only state in the country. That's because California liberals have been hiding behind an old court case from about 7 to 8 years ago, Boise, Idaho. It's actually 5 or 6 years ago. Boise, Idaho. Boise, Idaho was trying to clean up homeless camps. And a federal judge made a ruling saying, well, you can't force someone off the street unless there's a bed available. Remember, I just told you about shelter beds being the priority. We have available shelter beds in every city in California, in every neighborhood, every night. There's never a situation where we've run out of shelter beds. But the homeless people say, oh, I don't want to go to the shelter. If you give me a key to a condo, I'll go there, but I'll just stay out here. Thank you very much. Because these homeless people, about 60% of them in San Francisco reject the offer of a shelter bed. 60%. And the numbers are similar in LA and San Diego, across the state. And we offer them beds, and then there's no enforcement. What the Boise case said is that if you offer them a bed and they say no, you now can enforce, but we're not enforcing in California. A good example of this is recently San Diego city politicians led by Mayor Todd Gloria. Todd Gloria is a Democrat. He was seeing his polling numbers showing that he was going to be thrown out of office. People are still not happy with him, but no real good candidate ran. So he went out there and said, oh, we're going to pass a law allowing police to enforce the law. Wait, we're going to pass a law allowing police to enforce the law. Why don't we just get the politicians to stop telling police not to enforce the law? How about we just do that? You don't need to pass a law to enforce the law. And at the time when he did this, which is about a year ago, it was called the San Diego Clean and Safe Streets Anti-Camping Ban. I said, well, wait, this is the same politician for the last 15 years who's told us we don't have the legal ability to enforce the law. Now you're coming along saying, because your butt's on the line and you're going to lose your seat as mayor, that suddenly you have the authority to enforce the law. It was all showboating. It was gaslighting and grandstanding. And it just goes to show that this Boise case has created so much cover for politicians to not do their damn job. That's why I'm thrilled that today we saw arguments in the Supreme Court where the cities were telling the Supreme Court that they need authority in California to enforce the law. And of course, the pet feeders, the left, the ACLU, the homelessness is a human right. No, it's a tragedy. Homelessness is a terrible condition. Just like someone choking on a chicken bone, you can intervene. There's a public policy interest in intervening against people who are mentally ill and sitting on the streets, high on drugs, and out there. It's a public health hazard. We have the ability, like someone choking on a chicken bone, to go out and enforce that you can't just simply camp out overnight. It's unsanitary. It's unsafe. It's unclean. But the left wants to continue that crisis. Because they believe that it's a crisis that would force government into this socialized guarantee of giving away keys to government subsidized housing projects. And so the hearing was held today. The justices seem inclined to give the cities the go-ahead to enforce. And again, only in California are they hiding behind this bad decision, and some liberal cities in Oregon and Washington State. Where there's a willingness to enforce the law, other cities across the country have enforced the law. Remember, we live in a federal system. So the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals had this Boise, Idaho case. It applies nationwide in theory, but the other cities in this country have been actually implementing homeless programs that actually work. California, it doesn't do it that way. The politicians hide behind a bad, flawed ruling. That's why I'm hoping that the Supreme Court will give clarity that, yes, you have the ability to enforce loitering, encampment laws for the good of the public. we have a crisis with homelessness. I think you would agree. We have a crisis with a crime wave in California. I think we have a crisis with people losing their fire insurance, their homeowners insurance. But what is Gavin Newsom talking about? He wants to introduce emergency legislation allowing doctors from Arizona to come to California to provide reproductive care. Now, let's think about this. We have a crisis of people losing insurance. We have a cost crisis of people being priced out of the state of California. We've got 2/3 of students not passing proficiencies. We've got a fentanyl drug epidemic of overdoses. We've got a migrant crisis, a border crisis. But Newsom wants to do emergency legislation, not on any of those issues, but on reproductive care. Do you see just how unhinged from reality this blank hat of a governor is? And the media doesn't call him out on it, nor are Republicans. I think that this is a great opportunity to say, look, this guy seems to talk about, emergency legislation immediately taking effect to facilitate government funding of these services. He's creating a crisis where one does not actually even exist. But he doesn't want to do anything about real crises that are impacting real Californians. This is him going out there saying, let me serve every other state in the country on this issue. But let's not actually serve the citizens of California. I don't care where you stand on the issue of reproductive rights. I want you to question whether Governor Gavin Newsom has his priorities straight, and I don't think he does in any shape or form. Some interesting stories coming out. Finally, the liberal media is telling you that which we've told you at Reform California for quite a while, and that is the California primary in 2024 offered some really interesting results and some good news for people who don't want to see Democrats have a supermajority in the state anymore. And it says here, Politico did an analysis of the California primaries, and they say that Democrats are in trouble. Well, if you go to reformcalifornia.org, you'll see that we have all sorts of stories up there about how, look at this one, primary surprise, California Republicans have a path to end the Democrat supermajority in 2024. And this story talks about 12 seats in California in the state assembly that are flippable. And you only need 9 seats in the state assembly to break the Democrat supermajority. And that would really provide balance back in our state government. And we listed them out with the election results. We did this analysis, back in March 19th, well over a month ago. Now Politico is finally waking up and smelling the coffee and saying, Democrats didn't do so well. We also brought you the story about how Proposition 1 could have been easily defeated had the Republican Party just given a damn about taking a no position on the initiative. We did that March 28th. Politico also referencing that Prop 1 did not bode well for bond measures in the November elections, stating that California voters seem to be unhappy with Democrats' proposals. They seem to be unhappy with the fiscal direction of the state, the borrowing that's going on. Hello. All of the indicators have shown for quite a while that voters in California think our state's on the wrong track, and they think that we need significant change in policy and in leadership. The problem is California Republican Party is a dumpster fire of incompetence and dysfunction. It does not have a plan to fight. What I want to do is offer you a plan to fight. Go on our website, reformcalifornia.org, and check out our plan for 2024. And in fact, I've got a copy right here. The plan for 2024, our strategic plan, which has 7 strategies to help us fight in the 2024 election. These strategies are things that the Republican Party of California should be doing, but they've not done this. They haven't been an effective opposition party. So I want you to check that out, because I believe that we have a huge opportunity to win in the 2024 elections here in California if everyone gets behind this plan. Politico is correct. It's not looking good for Democrats in California. We can not only secure the House majority with wins in the House seats, we can add a couple seats to the House majority. We also know that we can break the supermajority that Democrats have in Sacramento. And we can save Prop 13 and enact major ballot measures that will impose common sense reform to give police and prosecutors the ability to combat crime, to make it harder to raise taxes in the future. All of that is on the line. I urge you to take a look at our strategic plan for 2024, the November election. Go online also and contribute at reformcalifornia.org, reformcalifornia.org. Until next time, Carl DeMaio, Chairman of Reform California. Help us break through the censorship of the liberal media. Like this video, subscribe to this channel, and smash that notification button so you can stay up to date on all the developments in California news and politics. Also, please visit the website, reformcalifornia.org, for ongoing news coverage and to join one of our campaigns in the fight to take back our state. If you can, please sign up as a volunteer or chip in a contribution. This episode of Reform California with Carl DeMaio, paid for by Carl DeMaio for State Assembly 2024.